Old Time Gray here. I picked up another Rockwell, or sorry, uh, Porta-Band. This one's a Porter cable. This is a model 7724, 6 amp variable speed. (100 to 255, 65 feet per minute. I already have a Rockwell. I'll put a link to it in some videos I have used it for in the description. So I kind of really don't need this, but I got it for 30 bucks. It's been cannibalized. The blade guides are gone, but everything else works. Oh, and it's got the replace the power cord with an extension cord thing, but a lot of people do that. But it all works. The upper wheel spins nicely, the bearings are in good shape, the blade tensioner works, the variable speed works. I'll unplug it. The trigger lock works. I'm gonna give it a little tune-up, clean up and tune up, and maybe I'll do something with it. Step 1 is remove the handle and the motor housing. Let's take note of the electrical connections. Red to the rear brush, white to the front brush. Well, they did a neat job with the extension cord replacement anyway. I'm not much on the extension cord thing, but at least they did a neat job. Okay, white to the switch. White to the variable speed switch. Black and red. Back to the switch with the black. Red to the brush. Okay. As with any tool with a universal motor or brushed motor, you want to remove the brushes as soon as possible so you don't damage them. So I'm going to unplug these little spade connectors and take the brushes out. Spring, a couple little insulator strips on here that go under the brushes. Remove the white lead from the switch. Take the switch loose. Remove the black lead from the switch. Disconnect the ground lead. It's hiding under there. And thread that. Take the cord loose. Okay, cord's out. I'm going to try to leave this interior wiring intact. So just take a note of how it's threaded in here. Just unthread the white and red and black. And then this just sits on a little dovetail. Wires are old, but they're still pretty supple, so I'm gonna leave them alone. Before taking the motor out, let's see what's up down below here. Oh, this is connected to the motor. It's number 3 Phillips, 3 of them. This doesn't want to come off, and I just doused it with some WD. But as you can see, it's all garfed up. It's like someone tried to get it off before but couldn't. So there's a little trick. Go get a long forgotten tool. My Champion Dearment Parrot's Bill channel locks. By the way, Champion Dearment is now called the Channel Lock Corporation. Grab this outer ring here. There you go. I broke it loose. We'll clean that up. On the front, let's see how that is. Oh, it's easy. Okay, out comes the shaft. You can see the bearings inside the front wheel. And there's a little nylon, old plastic washer here. Don't lose that. Okay, let's see about this rear wheel. I also didn't have the camera running when I removed the lower wheel. It simply screws onto this plastic sprocket with those 3 screws that I removed, and the center screw rides into this bushing, and then the chain just removes off of the pinion. The chain sprocket comes out of the chain, and that pinion goes up into the gearbox. And I didn't show that once the chain is out of there, there's 3 screws here, here, and here that attach to the bottom of the handle that I also didn't show being removed. Okay, I like to force these old plastics. Oh, motor does come right out. So there's the motor and the control system. It's the entire control system on this thing. That's what I like about these old tools. No electronics. There's a little O-ring on there. Little O-ring on there. I'm going to reuse the brushes. Just going to give the brush holders a little cleanup with a wire brush and a little green Scotch-Brite. Little insulator, then the brush and brush holder, and that in position, and then the little screws. Just realized I wasn't recording when I disassembled the gearbox, so let me show you after the fact. So this simply lifts off. Motor shaft goes through there. This lifts off, and you see 2 needle bearings in this plastic cover. And then there's 2 gears. This one's turned by the motor pinion, and it turns this one. And they sit in the two bearings that I removed, that I did show. And this is the gearbox that's full of that green and brown goop that you see me scooping out of there with a plastic spatula, a plastic scraper. First I'm going to tap out the needle bearing, just using a socket here. My old Snap-on guy Joe Keegan would not understand. He would not like this. Forgive me, Joe. Little needle bearing. For the larger bearing, I'm going to sit it on a socket and hit it with a smaller socket. To remove the tensioner, there's a little snap ring on here. This is kind of loose. Seems like it could use a washer under here, but I don't have one. I'm gonna take it loose here. There's the tensioning mechanism, just nice and greasy. Another little snap ring on here. Two little inserts or bushings, and then the tensioning knob, tensioning lever. Pulls out the other side. Like that. Big honking screw, doing what I don't know. I'm going to peel the tires off of these wheels. They're kind of petrified and they're all impregnated with metal chips. But I'm going to leave the bearings in. They're in good shape. And now we're down to the bare casting. So this thing is going to get some Dawn dish soap and citrus cleaner. I'm just going to dose it with this. I'm constantly surprised how good this stuff works. I mean, it's only been sitting for like 15 minutes and that grime is already lifting off. And I grew up in the era where we just used to throw trichlor on everything. It's really surprising. My grandma used to clean everything with lemon juice, so maybe she knew something the rest of us didn't. Okay, everything's cleaned up. I blew everything off with compressed air. Now I'm gonna let it all sit for 24 hours to dry up. Make sure it's dry. And then I'm gonna soak all the precision parts with WD after they dry up. And I found these on the internet, which are the blade guides, and this, which is a bearing kit for the blade guides. Very convenient. But I found a problem. I got a broken off screw inside this hole here. So I've got to extract that somehow. Okay, to extract that broken bolt, I just drilled a 1/16 hole. I center punched it and then drilled a 1/16 hole, maybe a 1/4 inch deep, if that. Now I'm going to take a left-hand drill bit, so the flute it turns that way instead of that way. Put the drill in reverse, and then gingerly get it on here and see if I can enlarge the hole enough to get an easy out in there. Okay, and I'm going to take the easy out. Just ease it into that hole. Again, lefty tighty in this case. Ease it into that hole. Let's see if it doesn't back out. Okay, now I removed the easy out. Now I'm gonna put the drill on it again. And sometimes you can get it to back out just because it's a left-hand drill. And I doused it with WD-40 too, so. There it is. Now I'm just going to chase them threads with 1024 tap. A little bit of WD. And then here's the 1024 screw that's going to hold on. Blade guide. Threading like a champ. Starting the reassembly with the blade tensioning lever. A little dab of grease on it. The little stud bolt that holds the tensioning assembly, snap rings in, snap ring lands in. Then to reassemble a tensioning system, I'm taking the two springs and hooking the spreader on the little spring lambs, hooking the springs on the bottom of the base bracket. I'm going to hook the pivot on the pivot bolt like that. Clamp it gingerly in the vise like that, and then carefully snap it into place like that. Being careful not to pinch my fingers in between here. For my own little improvements, instead of using a snap ring here like came off, I'm going to use a C-clip just because it has a little more bearing surface. To me, that snap ring was not adequate. Then I'm going to place the little bushings on the mounting pads for the tensioner and the tension lever. And then the tensioning assembly with these little hooks on the spreader bar facing up, that little dimple facing down. I'm going to land it over the stud with the adjustment stud and over these bushings. Realign the bushings, which all get held on with number 10 or number 8 screws with little washers. As another little improvement, I'm going to put an AN sized nylon washer beneath this snap ring that goes here, like so. Then check your tensioning mechanism. Make sure it works freely. And you can tighten or loosen these screws a little bit if needs must. And the axle goes on the 5/16 stud. A brand new tire for the upper wheel. I'm gonna repack the wheel bearings with the super lube. Just a good amount, and the old finger. Nylon washer. The upper wheel. Fiber washer. Then the outer bushing. And I'm replacing this garfed up screw with an AN washer and a stainless button head. And there we have a functioning tensioning system. Starting to reassemble the gearbox. I'm going to start by repressing the bearing. The seal, by the way, is in SKF 8620. Made in Elgin, Illinois. Not far from where I used to live. Okay, to press the bearing in to make it a little easier, I'm going to warm up this casting with the wife's old hair dryer. Now with a nice warm casting, I'm just going to take a little bit of grease, lube the outer race of the bearing, and just work it back in there a little bit with my thumbs, and then just taking a socket, forgive me Joe, same thing on the little bearing. Just a little bit of grease on it. Start it with my thumb. And then tap her home with a socket. This may seem a little bit backwards, but to install the gear, I'm gonna warm up the seal with the hair dryer. The idea is to get the elastomer nice and supple. It doesn't want to go on the shaft. Then I'm going to insert the sprocket gear through the gearbox, and then work the seal onto the sealing land of the shaft, a little at a time, with the aid of a coffee stirrer to get the seal lip over the edge, as it does not want to go on here. It fits, it's just very close tolerances. Okay, the seal is now landed, and the seal housing is pressed into the casting. Then out comes the socket again. And just gently tap the seal into the casting. Flipping it back over, the pinion gear, and here's where you can get liberal with the grease. Goop it up. And then this goes into that needle bearing. Obviously pinion drive gear down. Okay, then very important, there's a pin that goes in this little hole, and that aligns the plastic upper bearing carrier to the casting. You can see the little smile in the plastic piece matches the smile in here, but that actually keeps it aligned with that hole. So goop it up. Gently aligning the bearings with these two shafts, and the pin with the pin, or the pin with the hole, and that fits in place just nice. Then the motor the little O-ring. Make sure it's on there. And this little fiber seal, I guess, goes over the teeth of the motor output gear. Okay, keeping in mind that when we're installing the motor, we have to press this bearing into this plastic housing. So just to make it go easy, I'm going to warm it up with the hairdryer. I'm going to turn the driven wheel with my hand, put the motor in, align the bearing and the shaft as I turn the gears to get them to mesh, and push it in place. Like that. Then on go the motor retaining screws, which are these big Torx head fellas. Then I'm going to flip her back over and install the half of the handle that has to bolt up from the bottom, or screw from the bottom, and install the little self-tapping screws. Now the big nylon washer, a little bit of grease on it. Then the drive sprocket, metal side towards the frame. Start the chain on it, and then you can kind of nest the cogs and get the chain on both the drive sprocket and the driven sprocket. Upper or lower wheel, fixed wheel, with some grease in the bearing and a brand new tire on it. Over the shaft and clock it till you see the bolt holes. There they are. And the fiber washer, then the little bushing, and again I'm replacing the garfed up flathead screws with a stainless steel button head. Flipping it back over, I'm going to reinstall the switches. So speed switch. I'm going to nest all these wires back like they were, using a chunk of dirty chopstick to re-nest the wires. Then I'm going to dress in the brand new cord that I got. So first is the ground terminal. It's going to crimp a little ring loop, ring terminals on these things. Some guys like to solder, but a good crimp is as good as anything. Ground is there, switch is there, so I'm going to strip off the insulation by about that much. That seems about right. Before I forget, I'm going to replace the strain relief. I just bought a new one. This one's square on the end, this one's round, so I'm just going to square it off with a utility knife here. Now that the ground is threaded, I'm going to reinstall the little cord retainer with its little screws. The positive and neutral look like they want to be about yay long to get to the switch. Reconnecting the switch. Reinstalling the switch. High speed works. Low speed works. Outside half of the handle goes in place. A little bit of finagling to get everything aligned. So electrically and mechanically, she's all back together. No leftover parts in the cup. That's always a good sign. Now let's see what we can do about these blade guard guides and a shoe. A little blade guide casting. The upper one's easy. It's just some 1024 screws. Same thing for the lower blade guide, but I'm just gonna snug this on because we have to make a little shoe. According to the little instructions that came, these little shims go over the ends of the pins on the push bearings. Like that. I don't like these little cheapy screws that came with the bearings, so I'm going to replace them with my own number 10 socket heads. And then each one of those looks like it gets a little spacer, but I'm going to throw in an AN washer for good measure and the spacer. Same thing on the other side. Everything rolling good. Now installing a new blade. Just a little adjustable wrench. Give it a twist and shove it in between the guide bearings and then apply the tension. Like that. Now to make a shoe, I need to mimic this angle here, so I'm just taking my stair at angle gauge, and I need something that comes off of the back over here and then up around the blade. So time for some cardboard aided engineering. So I just took a piece of this Pacifico 6-pack and I transferred the angle with the angle gauge onto the cardboard. Cut it, and then that'll wrap around like so and pick up these two screws. And after some elementary school art class, that's kind of what it's going to look like. Okay, I found my stock. This is a piece of a junk piece of office furniture that I garbage picked. I think it was the thing that raises the keyboard, because it says to raise arm, grasp tray lift, to lower arm, tilt tray upwards and lower, plus minus. So our pattern fits almost perfectly on here. Lots of ways to do this, but I'm going to use my old Milwaukee saber saw. And here it goes being installed over the top of the lower bearing retainer. See how it works. Power's on. Okay. Now I'm just going to remove that and sand up the edges and dress everything up and clean it up. There it is, all sanded up and nice and smooth. Now just to install it, so I'm going to slide it over the blade, align the holes, or one of the holes, and then restart the retention screws. Time to cut something. I don't have a proper handle for it, that was missing, so I just stuck a 5/16 bolt in there for now. That'll work until I find a handle. So here's a piece of 12 gauge galvanized angle iron stuff that I just found on the street someplace. So let's set her about mid-range and take a cut. Well, I'm going to call that a success. This came out pretty nice. Now I've got a usable saw. I got it for $30. I bought maybe, I don't know, $50 worth of parts off of for the blade guides and the bearings and a blade. But it's working really nice. So I'm going to call this one good, and it's on to the next project. I'll see you there and then.